Hello and welcome to Indie Miners. This week, the highly anticipated album from Royel Otis, Pratts Pain. We've been waiting a long time for this, mate. Good morning. Stay tuned to the end of the video where we'll give it a rating out of 5. Give us a bit of a rundown of these boys.
Yeah, this band have created a little bit of a vibe in the alternative indie scene in recent times. So they've been releasing stuff since about back to 2021. This particular record was produced by Dan Carey, who's done a lot with Wet Leg, Foals, and Fountains DC. So we've covered a lot of those bands in Indie Miners in recent times. Pratts Pain itself is a pub in South London that they spend a lot of time in. But what you get with this is a band that is definitely bursting with ideas with respect to their influences. And you can tell that they've listened to a lot of records over the last 10 years, just in growing up. And a lot of those influences are back from the last 10 to 20 years. So the types of records or what types of artists that I'm thinking of here is like the Vines, that Australian act that was big in the early 2000s. I think Tame Impala is a bit of an influence, MGMT, as well as the Strokes. So those bands that were big in the indie scene, almost rock revival type of bands, especially in the early 2000s, you can definitely hear a lot about. So there's a lot of guitar-driven stuff, but it's also stuff where they are throwing in keyboards. You're not waiting to the second or third album for that to happen.
Yeah, that's an interesting comment, mate. Look, I love a good debut album, and this is not a letdown at all from start to finish. There's some particular tracks that I thoroughly enjoyed, and it was actually a bit of a struggle to get a top 3, but if we were to give a top 3, it would definitely be, for me, the opening track, Adored. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I nearly had Fried Rice in my top 3. I think that definitely has a bit of a Strokes influence, but a particular highlight for me is the song Molly. Actually, I wasn't kind of expecting that slower kind of song, so I'm thinking that's going to be really interesting to see when they play live, and I've got no doubt they're going to be having a pretty extensive tour around Australia pretty soon. And my other favourite is Heading for the Door. I think that's a particular crowd favourite, and I think it's going to play well live, and I really hope they do sneak in Oysters in My Pocket on their live performances, mate. A debut album, I mean, a band has a long time to kind of prepare for this, and I think it's been executed really well. They're going to be in the similar kind of realm like Wet Leg, with the challenge of that second and third album in particular. So maybe they'll change their style a little bit, but for me, mate, this is a real highlight for me. What kind of tracks were you into off this album?
Yeah, I similar list there. Like I liked Adore, that was the first track of the album, but I like Fried Rice better. So I think Fried Rice had a lot of youthful enthusiasm. It felt in a way back to the Vines in a lot of ways. So the youthful singing, the chord changes. I love the chord change from the verse to the chorus, so that pre-chorus chord change. I'm not quite sure what that is. I'm not really a guitarist these days. Let me know in the comments if you know what they're doing there. But it's very sort of guitar driven. Love that particular song. I also like Heading for the Door as well. So it reminded me as well, probably the Room on Fire era Strokes. So when the Strokes brought their keyboards out, I think that was pretty cool. I like Velvet. Now, interesting that it's been named Velvet. I'm just wondering whether they have some form of a Velvet Underground influence there. Now, I can listen to this. I can certainly hear White Light, White Heat from their second album, The Velvet Underground. If you haven't listened to it, definitely check it out. And then it goes into something that is almost akin to a White Album era Beatles or a Tame Impala, just in terms of the chorus. I really enjoyed it. It was a really cool track. And check out the music video too. It has a Andy Warhol influence to it. So that was, very, very pleasantly. And there was probably several more that I can certainly throw in there, Al.
Oh, definitely. And I would say there's a little dash of Car Seat Headrest in a few of those songs as well. But at the start, we mentioned we we're going to give it a rating, mate. I struggled to really nail it, but I've decided to give it 3.5 stars. I think there is a little bit of room for growth, and I'm particularly excited about the direction they'll go for the second and third albums, mate. So it's a 3.5 from me. Where did you land on a verdict?
Look, I'm going to go 3.5 as well. I think this is typical of a band with their first up efforts. You've got a lot. It's almost like a best of up to that stage, if that makes sense. So what tends to happen is that bands certainly don't put out concept albums with their first record. That they're putting out everything to show everyone in the world what they've got. So I just felt as if that it probably lacked any sort of any theme. Maybe I'm wrong in that, and let me know if you beg to disagree. It might grow on me over time, and I think certainly some albums do that to me as you listen to them. But 3.5 stars, that's a good effort, and I'm really keen to see what these guys are going to do in 2024.
So that's our quick review of the debut album from Royel Otis, Pratts Pain.